Welcome to Ground School, everyone. I'm your instructor, and today we're diving into a really crucial explainer of aeromedical factors. Now, we spend a ton of time talking about aircraft systems, aerodynamics, and reading the weather, but today we're focusing on the absolute most critical, complex, and vulnerable component in the entire cockpit, you, the human machine. So get your notebooks ready, because understanding how your body reacts to the flight environment, well, it isn't just about passing a written exam. It's quite literally about survival. Picture this. You're cruising along at 15,000 feet. Suddenly, your co-pilot slumps forward over the yoke. They've just passed out, and you have absolutely no idea what happened. Panic sets in, right? If you don't understand the physiological hazards of flight, their emergency is going to become your emergency very quickly. But with the right knowledge, you can identify the threat, take immediate corrective action, and get the aircraft safely on the ground. So here's our syllabus for the day. 1. Medical certificates. 2. Hypoxia and respiration. 3. Ear and sinus blocks. 4. Spatial illusions. 5. Fatigue and carbon monoxide. And finally, 6. Alcohol and decompression sickness. Let's get into it. Starting right off with Section 1, Medical Certificates and Privileges. Listen, before anyone can legally touch those controls, we have to establish the baseline. You simply can't fly if you aren't medically fit. According to the federal aviation regulations, you've got to have acceptable evidence of physical fitness on your person or readily accessible in the aircraft. I want you to write this down because it is for sure going to be on your test. How long your certificate is valid depends entirely on your age at the date of the exam and the class of the certificate. For third-class medical, which is what you need for a private pilot license, if you're under 40, it's valid for 60 calendar months. But if you're 40 and older, that drops down to 24 calendar months. For commercial privileges on a second class, it's 12 months across the board. And for airline transport pilots holding a first class, it's 12 months if you're under 40, but a really strict 6 months if you're 40 or older. Always know your privileges and keep them current. Moving right along to Section 2, Hypoxia and respiratory hazards. As we climb an altitude, the atmosphere changes, and it introduces a totally invisible, silent killer. We call it hypoxia. Hypoxia is basically a state of oxygen deficiency in your body that's severe enough to impair brain and organ function. Let's look at these symptoms. Because the partial pressure of oxygen decreases as we climb, fewer oxygen molecules are actually passing into our bloodstream. Now, pay super close attention to euphoria on this list. It's a massive, deceptive trap. Hypoxia gives you this false sense of security. You feel completely carefree and think everything is perfectly fine, while in reality, your brain is suffocating. You might also notice cyanosis, which is a blue tint to your lips and fingernails, along with dizziness, terrible judgment, and really delayed reaction times. So the absolutely crucial point here is knowing exactly how to react when you spot these symptoms in yourself or your passengers. Write these 2 steps down and burn them into your memory. Number 1, decrease your flying altitude immediately. You need to get back down into denser, oxygen-rich air. And number 2, put on supplemental oxygen if your aircraft has it. Do not delay. Why shouldn't you delay? We'll take a hard look at these numbers showing the time of useful consciousness. As you cross above 10,000 feet, your window to react shrinks incredibly fast. Look at 30,000 feet. You have just 1 to 2 minutes. And if you experience rapid decompression way up at 40,000 feet, you have a mere 15 to 20 seconds before you lose consciousness completely. Guys, that's literally barely enough time to secure your own oxygen mask. All right, Section 3, ear and sinus blockages. Let's bring it back down to lower altitudes and talk about the really painful sensory traps we hit during rapid climbs and descents. Inside your skull is the middle ear, a small cavity separated from the outside air by your eardrum. Normally, pressure equalizes through the eustachian tube, which connects right to your throat. But during a descent, the outside pressure increases. Remember, high pressure always wants to move to low pressure. Because of this, the eardrum bulges inward. This creates a partial vacuum that can actually pinch the eustachian tube completely shut, trapping the lower pressure inside and causing some severe, blinding pain. To fix this, you've got to force that eustachian tube open. First thing, reduce your rate of descent to give your body a little time to catch up and adjust. Second, try to swallow, chew, or yawn. If that doesn't do the trick, perform the Valsalva maneuver. I definitely want you to jot this procedure down in your notes. Close your mouth, pinch your nose, and blow slowly and gently. This forces air right up the eustachian tube and equalizes the pressure. And hey, just remember, never fly with a head cold or sinus infection, or you might actually rupture an eardrum. Next up, Section 4, Spatial and Optical Illusions. Under normal visual flight rules, about 80% of your orientation ability comes directly from your eyes. But the second you fly into the clouds and lose those visual references, you have to rely on the anatomy of your inner ear, the vestibular system. You've got 3 semicircular canals in there filled with fluid and tiny hairs. They detect pitch, yaw, and roll. When you maneuver the plane, that fluid moves, stimulating the hairs and telling your brain exactly how you're turning. But here's the catch. Without outside visual references, your body literally cannot distinguish between gravity and centrifugal force. Your inner ear will start to lie to you, creating some incredibly deadly illusions. Let's look at some specific traps. First is the inversion illusion. If you abruptly level off from a steep climb, the fluid in your inner ear sloshes backward. Your brain suddenly screams that you are tumbling backwards over the tail of the plane. A panicked pilot will instinctively push the yoke forward, driving the aircraft into a really dangerous dive that can lead to a high-speed crash or even structural damage. To avoid this, use your rule of thumb and just avoid abruptly leveling off. Keep it smooth. Next is the Coriolis illusion. Imagine you're in a prolonged, stabilized turn inside a cloud. The fluid in your ear has totally settled down. Suddenly, you drop your pen on the floorboards. You quickly duck your head down to grab it. Boom! That rapid head movement sets the fluid violently moving in a completely different canal. You will feel an overwhelming, terrifying sensation that the aircraft is wildly accelerating or rolling on an entirely different axis. And then there's the most infamous one of all, the graveyard spiral. If you're in a prolonged turn, your inner ear eventually just gets used to it and thinks you're flying straight and level. When you try to level the wings out, your body falsely feels like it's banking in the opposite direction. So what do? You mistakenly bank back into the original turn. Because banking decreases vertical lift, your nose drops and your altitude starts decreasing. You see the altimeter unwinding and you pull back on the yoke to climb. But because you're still banked, pulling back just tightens the spiral. You lose altitude faster and faster until you either hit the ground or overstress the airframe. So the absolutely crucial point is this. When you're inside the clouds, your eyes are useless, your inner ear is actively lying to you, and your body is completely confused. There is only one way to survive spatial disorientation. The golden rule of instrument flying. Trust your instruments. Ignore your inner ear entirely. Your attitude indicator does not lie to you. Absolute total reliance on your flight deck instruments is your only lifeline. Moving to Section 5, Fatigue, Stress, and Carbon Monoxide. Let's talk about the everyday human elements, lifestyle, and environmental stressors inside the cockpit that degrade your performance long before an emergency even pops up. You'll want to take notes on this distinction. We divide fatigue into 2 categories. Acute fatigue is short-term. It comes from strenuous effort, a heavy mental workload, or maybe just a really bad night's sleep. It messes up your timing and your control inputs. The fix is super simple: a proper diet and 8 solid hours of sleep. Chronic fatigue, however, is a long-term problem. It's rooted in continuous high psychological stress or underlying disease. You can't just sleep this off in one night. If you're suffering from chronic fatigue, you absolutely must consult an aviation physician before acting as pilot in command. Another major cockpit stressor, carbon monoxide, or CO. It's a colorless, completely odorless gas produced by your engine's exhaust. If there's a leak in your cabin heater, CO just floods the flight deck. And here's the terrifying part. CO attaches to your blood's hemoglobin 200 times more easily than oxygen does. This causes hypemic hypoxia, meaning your blood literally cannot carry oxygen anymore. If you get a headache or your vision gets blurry, turn off the heater immediately and throw open the air vents. And note this really fascinating fact from the sources. Even smoking tobacco at sea level raises your blood's CO concentration so much that it has the physiological effect of flying at 8,000 feet. Pretty crazy, right? Finally, Section 6, Alcohol, Drugs, and Decompression Sickness. We're covering the strict, absolutely non-negotiable legal and physiological limits every pilot must obey. Listen up closely here, guys, because the FAA does not mess around with this. FAR Part 91.17 clearly states that no person may act as a crew member of a civil aircraft with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.04% or greater. Alcohol severely impairs your muscular reflexes, eye movements, and your decision-making. Furthermore, altitude literally multiplies the effects of alcohol on your brain. Drinking just 1 ounce of alcohol can equate to an additional 2,000 feet of physiological altitude. And that brings us to the famous rule, 8 hours from bottle to throttle. You must allow at least 8 full hours to pass between drinking alcohol and piloting an airplane. Similarly, if you've been out scuba diving, your body has absorbed excess nitrogen. If you go fly too soon, the lower pressure at altitude causes that nitrogen to literally bubble out of your blood, causing decompression sickness, also known as the bends. You must wait up to 24 hours after a dive before flying just to allow that nitrogen to safely leave your system. All right, wrapping up. The skies are incredibly beautiful, but man, they are entirely unforgiving to the unprepared. We've covered legal limits, the silent threat of hypoxia, the tricky physics of your inner ear, and the strict rules governing your physiological readiness. It is your responsibility to monitor your own machine. Master these aeromedical factors, trust your instruments, and stay safe up there. Are you ready to take the controls? Class dismissed, and I'll see you all on the flight line.